And we're live.
We are live. Welcome everybody to episode 160 of Digital Live at the Hive, Digital Marketing from the Trenches. I'll get that one out. I'm Dan Nedelko.
Matt Stefanich.
I'm Matej Cherlenko.
Yep.
And today we have got a tall drink of content water to chug.
We challenge ourselves every week to try and see how much we can get into these 40 minutes. And I think for the past 2 weeks that we've been doing a pretty good job with some of these presentations and case studies we've been showcasing.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think we've been fitting more and more in every time.
Which is good. Yeah. I mean, the audience loves it. We get some great engagement every week. I see the bees already funneling in here. Ben Miller, bees are live, baby.
Hey.
That's right.
Welcome back, Ben. It's been I think it's been a few weeks since we've seen you.
Yeah, for sure.
Good to have you back.
Mm-hmm. So for this week, we're going to be going over, more of a non-linear customer journey, what that means, and how you can actually start implementing it within your flows and within your funnels. And what we see here is, a lot of the times people think that the journey for a customer is very linear. It's point A, B, C, D, right? D being the sale. But there's actually many different facets and different, avenues that our customers can go through. And I think it's prevalent to kind of make sure that not all customers are the same. And that's why we need to have these nonlinear flows.
For sure. And I think there's a couple of other things here that this background really does guide marketing, communications, your touch points, what kind of content you're going to create, what it's going to look like. And without doing this kind of a deep dive into the entire thing is the ideal customer persona.
Yeah.
It's composed of a whole bunch of things, including empathy maps and personas. And what we're going to do is we are going to walk through the process of doing this yourself and what the benefits are. And ultimately what the benefits are, it'll prevent you from saying, my customer is everyone. That's one thing that you should never, ever do in marketing. I always cringe when I hear that. Who's your customer? Everybody? Well, no, they're not. Not under any circumstances. So at this point, what we want to do is we're going to walk through this as a roadmap with a case study and example. And I think we're going to forego what's new this week. Lots is new.
Yep.
But we're going to forego that and focus on our topic at hand, which is customer journey mapping. The one thing that I'd like to say as we jump into this, you can go ahead to the first one, I guess, Matt. Dive right in. This is often the domain of the UX or user experience professional, typically on, the front end of an app or a product or a website. And I'm just a firm believer in the fact that this should also be the domain and co-working domain of marketing, because so much of it is contingent upon, especially now, social media being the tip of that spear.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. It offers lots of avenues to, introduce yourself and to create that first step within the funnel, which is so crucial, right?
So there's an example of a nonlinear funnel. And again, we often talk about funnels in a very linear format, but the reality is, and we know this, it's just a little bit more confusing to express it. There's a decent visual of a nonlinear customer journey, but Matej, you just bought a dog, right?
Yes.
Yes. I know you talk about him a lot. I know you love him. Just joking. But in that process of finding where to get the dog and what kind of dog you wanted, I would probably guess that you did not just have a linear experience.
I did not have a linear experience. I ended up with a dog. It's a great example too. I ended up with a dog that I wasn't expected of getting. He just so happened to fit what I was looking for. But through the experience, it was hard. It was very hard finding, looking for them. People weren't making their ads properly. It was very messy. You couldn't decipher a real ad from a fake one. It was very weird. And then the experience was very, how should I put it, overwhelming at first. It kind of was the structure. But then there are some examples. Like there's one where these campaigns took off in relation to, again, the dog, where they took the dog idea and they kind of ran with it. Again, knowing the customer experience and what they're going through.
Yeah.
But again, relating to the dog, I had a bad experience. It was terrible. I ended up with something that I wasn't looking for, but I was happy in the end. But it would have been a lot better with.
We could do a whole. Okay, let's just. His name is Theodore. He is very cute. Matei could probably take the whole live just talking about his pup, but the example of the nonlinear, is a oops, almost clicked the wrong thing here. There's, I'm researching on social, then I do a Google search, then I look at a few ads, I check out a few places to get my dog. What kind of dog do I want? I talk to friends. I know that you pinged me a couple of times, Matei, in this as well. Yeah. And that is a very non-linear process. And that's a very common process for anybody in any kind of purchase decision, whatever it might be. So let's kind of talk about three different approaches, and not three different, necessarily different approaches, but three core elements to this ideal customer profile that lead us to a positive outcome. Because what marketing is supposed to do is take you from a before state, right? Which may be Matei wants a dog, right? And he doesn't know what kind of dog he wants, right? So he's going to research it, to an after state of product or purchase satisfaction, which is I've got the dog and I love my dog, right? Yep. Effective marketing and effective products do that. They take you from a before state to an after state. And that's how we get there, is by developing these empathy maps, customer journeys, experience maps. And that's what we're going to go through today. One thing to keep in mind is don't overcomplicate yourself. Okay. These are not hard and fast rules. They're high-level models that describe larger systems, right? And you would potentially have several of these as well.
For sure, yeah. And, each one of these is going to be very specific to your business, your products, and your customers, right? So, I mean, don't take this as a cookie cutter, but definitely take elements out of it that, you can relate to your business, and different elements that, would work for your customers. So.
For sure. Okay, so our case study today is going to be actually for one of our sites called Marketer Knows. So what Marketer Knows is, and look, especially now over the last 10 months, people are taking online courses and joining communities, and especially digital marketing is becoming a huge topic. Sorry, you're going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say something. I mean, even with, the viewership from the Live at the Hive episodes, since COVID started, right? A lot of people are tuning in, looking for tips and, looking for this library of information that's coming from the front lines that they can really utilize, right? And this is a fantastic way to kind of utilize this this audienceship and this case study for other people's benefit, right?
Yeah, for sure. And look, a big part of our strategy with Live at the Hive is not necessarily the live concurrent viewers, it's the asynchronous viewers after the fact. And we've gotten lots of feedback, which is awesome, that we've got a big enough library now that we do have people that kind of go back and consume it, however they want, snackable bits. So, all right, let's keep going here. So the concept of Marketer Knows, just quickly, is more than just classes and assets and templates. The most important part of it is that it's a community, because invariably what happens with digital marketing, and we see this in the agency all the time, is that's close, but my situation is slightly different. And now I'm stuck, right? So that's a big part of Marketer Knows. So obviously, if we're building a community, we need to build these empathy maps, and we need to build these personas, and we really need to understand the pain points of our audience.
Absolutely. And by doing so, you create a customer profile, right?
Yeah, we create a customer profile, and a customer profile contains a whole bunch of things here. And this customer profile ultimately helps us get to building the persona. There's a few steps in it. Once we build the persona, we can start to work on mapping the customer journey. So there's this kind of A, B, C, D, E, F, G kind of progression through.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And this is one of the ways that we use, at the Hive to really, score our profiles and kind of get into the head of, what behaviors our customers would, ideally take part in, different criterias, and essentially these criterias add up and give a different score from 0 to 2 based on, their needs and what they like.
Yeah. And really what we're focusing on here is understanding that not every individual out there is going to be a fit for our product. And the question is, what is our ideal, our perfect customer, right?
Yep.
And do we understand what that means and what that is? So that's the goal of this. The goal here is actually, it's a little bit more self-serving, but it's saying, for my business, what is the type of customer that I ideally want to have, right? Instead of trying to acquire people that may not have a fit, right? And that can cost money, and it can cost time. And it also helps inform you of the things you could and should be doing as you're developing everything for your customers, your products, your services, everything else.
So essentially, it's like casting a net where the fish are, kind of thing.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And you want to know, hey, if you can work through to get to your ideal customer profile, you're going to know who you don't want to market to and who you don't necessarily need in your product mix. That's not a bad thing. That's really just, it's like spearfishing versus casting a wide net.
Yeah, right? For sure. And I think a lot of people, they tend not to want to exclude people. And that's why we kind of get those answers from, well, I want to target to everyone. It's better to make sure that the people that you're targeting are the ones who are most likely going to be going through your customer funnels, your customer journeys, and the people who are going to benefit most from your products. It's going to be better investment for you, and it's going to be a better return on investment for sure, because these are the most engaged people who are most likely to engage with business and buy your products.
That's right. And if we were to just map this to, say, a Facebook or Google ad spend, well, if you're targeting people that are potentially not in your ideal fit, you're wasting your money, and that can get really, really costly. Really costly.
Absolutely. The pay-per-click is going to be skyrocketing through, and some of those clicks aren't going to lead to a sale. The majority of them actually probably wouldn't lead to a sale, and like Dan said, it's just going to be a waste of money. So we can also kind of map this through, by profession, right? We have this one here where it kind of cuts through the different, demographics, core values, and communications.
Yeah, sorry, can you just jump back quickly there? I just want to, there's a couple of things I want to point out.
Yeah.
So if you can just zoom in on the ICP grid there. Okay. And you want to be, there are several different versions of this, but what you really want to do is be absolutely and brutally honest with yourself about the type of customer that you want. So that, again, you're not trying to say, avoid the notion that everybody is my ideal customer. That won't be the case, and you're gonna do yourself a disservice if you don't do that. Okay, now we can jump forward.
Okay. For sure.
So, and you can go ahead to the next one, Matt. I just want to say, for example, with Marketer Knows, and this is our case study example, the ideal customer fit is someone that is motivated to put in the time and to put in the work, as opposed to a done-for-you type of client that would say, hey, no, you know what? I want an agency to do it. Well, they could join Marketer Knows. Would they get much out of it? Not really, because in Marketer Knows, the notion is that you are motivated to put in that elbow grease.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's more so for people looking for, not a quick fix, someone who's looking to get educated and understand these theories and strategies on a higher level.
For sure. Chad saying attracting the wrong people can also consume a ton of valuable time, makes it harder to filter out the leads that are actually qualified. Yeah, for sure. That is absolutely true. So let's look at Marketer Knows. And so we built out a score. Sorry.
Yep.
That grid.
It's okay. So this is the score that we kind of built out here.
Yeah. So the scores led to an ideal customer. And what we did was we identified 3 major groups that would fall into those profiles. So we have media buyers, and there's a lot of terms for people that run Facebook, digital, and any kind of digital ads. Media buyer is a common term. So anybody responsible for a budget that's using these, and we spent a bunch of time this week Facebook Business Manager is a monstrous beast that only gets more and more complicated to use and to understand. So media buyers are in this predicament of, 15 years ago, I could sit down, well, maybe more than 15 now, say 20 years ago, I was running PPC on Google Ads, and it was relatively simple. You get your keywords in there, you start bidding, you get an ad, you get traffic, go. There was very little notion of this remarketing and a lot of the other advanced things. So the media buyer is in a uniquely difficult position because you've got these incredibly complicated platforms. And are they able to be experts in every single one? Probably not. But they're very motivated because they do understand. So they're a great target for this, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Second group are entrepreneurs, self-started, very motivated people, being able to continuously learn, want to have that interaction and bounce ideas off, and very creative, right? Mm-hmm. And then marketing agency owners as well. Smaller agencies often run into, as do we, there's growing pains and there's all sorts of struggles. And where can I get reliable roadmaps, for example, so I know my campaigns will be successful, instead of, some agency owners are more focused on various different aspects. So there's a place in there to have a series of roadmaps, for example, for digital marketing campaigns that we know have a positive ROI, right?
Yep.
Cool. So, and you would do the exact same thing with your business and say, okay, now I see my ideal customer profile. I'm going to go after people in these 3 specific industries, right? And then we'll jump to the next step.
Yeah. And so the next step would be, personas. So like we said beforehand, we're kind of splitting up these 3 different, target audiences based on, what they're looking for, their understanding of the tools, where they're most likely to see our ads. And we're kind of going through and filtering them and creating personas on each and every one, right?
Yeah. And it's also more than just ads, but this takes into account the entire content creation journey that you're going to take people on, and what kind of content you're going to create. And we'll get to this, which is what is their journey from that before state to the after state, right? And so what kind of content do we create? What kind of voice do we use to appeal to their pain points, solve their problems at every step in that journey? So let's talk a little bit about persona development. This is something that we've been actually just on several projects, just as a just random. We've been developing tons of customer profiles over the last couple of weeks. And it's actually a very interesting process. So your persona, you can go to the next one.
Yep.
So your persona is a whole lot more. Let's zoom in on Paul here. There we go. Perfect. So this is a profile we built out of an entrepreneur. This is just one example. And the various ways that this was researched are, one, there's a site called Truity.com, and Truity uses the Myers-Briggs, if you're familiar with that, profiles. And it allows us to understand what various types of professions typically fit within the Myers-Briggs scale of personality. So we start there, and then you can also do research in various other locations. If you don't have firsthand customer research, a couple of good areas. Matt, I know I don't know, is Reddit one of your favorite sites? I think it is.
Yeah, Reddit's good because I like the frequency of what people post, and it's sometimes a little bit more higher content than what you would find on Facebook or Twitter. It's a little bit more long form, and it's of higher quality too. Which I like. And if you utilize it properly, you can actually do some really great customer research on Reddit. It's usually one of the first places I go to when I'm researching a new topic.
For sure. Another great one is Twitter. You can find people. Follow the entrepreneurship hashtag, look at startups, see what they're saying. You get a lot of frustrations and honesty on Twitter.
Yep. As you use these platforms too, you understand what types of, content best suits it. Of course, we've talked about that in length, but I mean, if you're looking to find influencers and people, Twitter is going to be a great platform to get started with. And then, like I said previously, if you're looking to do more analysis on the content itself and the community surrounding this content, places like Reddit, Facebook groups, even YouTube, those are going to be great places to get, supplemental content to improve your personas and your content strategies.
For sure. Quora is another great place for people that are asking questions.
Yep.
So when we're mapping out a persona, what we really want to do is focus on goals and frustrations, the statement of belief that comes from it, using that Myers-Briggs scale, or profile, I should say, to really build out what type of frustrations they have. And this is often the case with a lot of entrepreneurs, is that maybe it's strong to say doesn't know the first thing about marketing. They know what they want to achieve with the marketing, but how you get there is a different story. And, without having that experience, it would be very difficult. Another really good point here. Oops, sorry. Can you just, we're gonna sit here for a couple minutes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Our logo's cutting. There we go. So Paul here, he's tried several marketing courses from different providers, but he hasn't gotten much out of them. Therefore, for him, they're useless. And he's talked to several agencies. It's just too expensive. And he's trying to find something affordable and reliable and something that can fit within his budget, right? So you can see that his motivations are incentive. He's got a high achievement scale and very sociable. So as you can see, he's starting to fit into an ideal candidate for marketer knows. And the development of the statement of belief is really important. Talking about, and we're starting to get into how your customers potentially are feeling. And then the Myers-Briggs scale will tell you what type of personality they are, whether they go based on perception, right? So for example, for the ESTP, which is the entrepreneur profile, they tend to be energetic, action oriented, navigating whatever's in front of them very quickly. They shoot for opportunities, whether socializing with others or on more personal pursuits. You can dig into that more, but when you have that kind of a profile as a grounding, it's a very useful approach to take.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of times, people dismiss the value of this, right? Especially, if you have a person like a ESTP or ENFJ, they're going to interact with your ads a lot differently than one another, right? So, if you tailor your ads towards, ESP people, these are people that, are going to be making quick decisions a lot faster than someone who's a little bit more. Yeah, exactly.
All
right?
of your,
absolutely everything. And it's so important. It's so important.
It is. And I think that, there's a couple of comments here. One from April, knowing your customer is so important. You can address specific pain points in different stages of your funnel to continue to build your relationship with your customer. Yeah. Very true. Yeah. Stacy's got a couple of others to add here. Answer the Public and Reddit. Answer the Public is an awesome question-based search engine to find out what people are talking about, what they're searching for. Definitely question-based searches are a great way to understand, what is going on in someone's mind. Sorry, Mateo, looks like you're Wilson from what was that? Tim the Tool Man Taylor. What was that show back in the 90s? Oh my gosh, I'm dating myself. Tool Time with Tim Taylor. I always Home Improvement.
Home Improvement, that one. Yeah.
Tim Allen.
Eyes over the fence.
Yeah, Wilson. Sorry there. It helps not to assume, but to know with confidence what a customer's potential pain points are. Yes.
For sure. Good point, Stace.
Very true. So we build all of this up. And again, you're going to be building several of these. Don't just build one, because you're going to have several different types of profiles. We're just using one as the example for today. The other thing to keep in mind about this that's really important is this is what we would call a living document. You don't just do it and pin it. We'll get to that in the customer journey, how you can then start to build your own personas using your real customer data through various methods of communication. So that's an important caveat. Okay.
Awesome.
Go.
Moving on now, we're going to be going over more towards, the empathy mapping and what it means to create this empathy map and expanding upon your personas.
Yeah, for sure. So just to quickly kind of summarize, we started with the scorecard. So we understood what our ideal customer is, right?
Mm-hmm.
We took the time there. Then we did the ideal customer profile and broke it down into professions of the individuals in our particular case with marketer knows, and what would their profiles and demographics and needs and wants look like. Then we started to do research into what an individual persona from one of those. So you can see we're going along this path of learning and understanding more. And then we get to the empathy map here. And what it is we get into the heads of our persona and start to break those out. So saying, thinking, feeling, and doing are the 4 quadrants of an empathy map. Just one thing, over the years, having been involved in several of these processes, just one easy way to build some of these, and it's a really great collaboration tool if you've got a team, is you just go to Staples and you buy the jumbo pack of multicolored Post-it notes. I've been involved in several of these, and they're very, very useful processes to go through. And everybody on the team can start to build empathy map questions, and they get put up on the board, and then collaboratively they get reorganized as there's discussion about it. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. When we like doing these, we like going into, before COVID, going into the huddle room and stuff like that, and collaborating on a whiteboard with the Post-it notes and stuff. It's a really collaborative process, and the more people they can kind of introduce, not too much, but the more people that you introduce into the process, the deeper understanding you can get from the points. So.
For sure. And you know what? It's also something you can do. I've used this example of a ketogenic supplement that we worked on several years ago. And over it was either Labor Day. I'm having a hard time foggy remembering. It was either July 4th. I think it was July 4th because we didn't have a holiday there. Right.
Yep.
So I sat on the live chat in a major promotion. We had, thousands of customers come in and purchase. And I spent about 12 hours out of that weekend just talking to people that were visiting the site. And it was incredibly eye-opening. Just asking them how they're doing, how you can help, why are you interested in keto? And I got everything from I lost my leg to diabetes, and like these incredible stories of people that had lost 200 pounds, that had health issues. All of those types of conversations led to a really much deeper understanding of the ketogenic supplements customers, which was assumed initially by the company to be people that were very health conscious, right? And it's actually kind of the opposite, people that are now health conscious but weren't before. So,
yeah. And this is fantastic to lead into the next slide, where it's like, you're expanding upon this, and you're asking questions that people have, right? You're going into you're expanding on these 4 quadrants and how these people fit and really care about each one, right?
Yeah. So in this case, Paul is saying, I want reliable information about marketing. I'm getting confused. He's thinking it's overwhelming and hard to understand, which it is. Which it is. What is he doing? He's shopping around, not to compare prices, but he's shopping around between courses and communities and this and that and the other thing. And then all of a sudden, he's starting to feel very confused because there's a lot of competing information out there that he could run into. And that's now we're starting to build this out. If we go to the next one, we start to continue to build this out, and we can probably just zoom in on the left so people can see. Here you go. So here's our empathy map, right? So Paul is saying, I was expecting something different. Where do I start? Oh, I need something reliable. I don't really know what to do, right? What is he thinking? It's like, why the, maybe he's saying to himself, I'm not stupid, but why is this so hard? Why is there so much conflicting information? Maybe I know I need to do marketing, but I'm missing something here. And then, between several online course providers and several communities and all sorts of different competing services and everything, am I just wasting my time?
Yeah.
Right?
a great example. This was when, after I got my dog again,
Mhm.
buying the proper dog food.
Yep.
That was probably the hardest process I've ever had to do. But there's a company it's called The Farmer's Dog.
Mhm.
They have a great customer journey. They answer any questions you have, the health of your dog, what you're looking to get out of your dog, or energy. Do you want them to be smarter, just to have a longer life? Those kind of questions that really resonate with the customer, their journey, and what they're looking for, right? Because you
Mhm.
could be an expert on every dog food out
Yep.
there, but if you don't, like, you know the information, but look at it from someone else's perspective. They're going in it not knowing anything, right?
Mhm.
Going blind. So
Well, and
that
this is literally a process that works for any product in any industry, whether it's business to consumer, business to business. But quite often what happens on the marketing side is when this isn't done, your messaging is going to fall flat because it's not speaking to your ideal customer, and you haven't tried to get into the head of your customer, which is so critically important in a sales and marketing process, because again, we're talking about communication. Understanding all of these things allows us to provide those real solutions,
For sure.
right? So this is how you build out your empathy map, and this is a really important part of this. This is also a great way to leverage the foundation of your SEO, of your content. How are you going to organize your content on your site for a viable customer journey when someone finds you through a search engine asking questions? Because there's huge opportunities in almost every industry. It's often very much overlooked as that tale of search and question-based searches. When you go through this process, you'll know how to frame your content, how to word it, how to address those feelings, and the thinking and the feeling side are what you really want to address, right? Because then light bulbs will go off for your end user.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is, strategies of, the types of language that you're going to be using on your landing pages, the types of language you're going to be using when you reach out to people, FAQs, your ads, comments, etc. Right? Very, very important. And each quadrant is going to have a different level of messaging that's consistent with how your customers feel.
Yeah. And if we just scroll to the right there and get to the other side, this is the outcome of that. So, what is influencing him? What are his pain points? How is he feeling? What is his overall goal? You see, we start to build this out from all the previous information that we have had before. Okay. So that's an empathy map.
Yep.
And the thing about an empathy map is, I think to some degree, not everywhere, but I think some people may find that to be soft, right? But it's not. It's a very, very powerful part of a strategic communications process.
Yep. And like you said, it's a living document, right? So you're always going to be adding to it, and you're always going to be growing it.
Absolutely. So some of the things that we use to measure empathy mapping, whether we're accurate, is obviously the conversion rate, upsell, renewal, the customer lifetime value, click-through rates, customer satisfaction index, and satisfaction with the interaction. We get that through all sorts of different. We're going to talk a little bit about how we get to that. To get to that point. The other way that you can do it is by simply opening, and this is something that's very important these days because people are doing quite a bit, is opening live chats with your potential audience and actually do that learning, or talk to your customer service or your sales teams as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
This is the good stuff right here.
This is where we go. This is where it all comes together.
Yep.
So we've gone through the process of the scorecard, the profession scorecard of our ideal customer profile. We've developed a persona. We have gone through and developed empathy maps. And now what we're going to do is get down to experience mapping.
Yep.
Okay. And this actually can be done before you design your product if you're in that process. I mean, if you were really doing in-depth product research and how and what you're going to develop, you would start with this first, right? And then move into creating a product that solves all of those problems, or pivoting your product to solve those problems.
Absolutely. Right? Yep.
So there's key elements here. What we're really going to do is we're going to go back to the old awareness, consideration, acquisition, join or purchase, and then retention model. It still holds because we're mapping it to this non-linear process of the ideal customer profile, empathy map, and persona.
For sure.
Okay. So the experience map, again, can be split into several different types of processes, but you take the information you have before and then start to map it into a journey of, and we're going to kind of combo 2 in 1. And the reason we're doing that is because as we were building this out, I was starting to get very concerned that it's 4:56 p.m. and it's a lot to take in a shorter period of time. Again, probably definitely worth additional deep dives. So let's just jump down here. Okay. So now, as you can see, maybe can you zoom in on the grid? There we go. So you can see here. You can see at the awareness stage, it's full of frustrations. And this comes from the empathy maps, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are we doing under awareness that has all the pain points? The consideration side is, hey, there's this thing called Marketer Knows, and it's free. Okay, I like that. They're not forcing me into any paid program right away. Mm-hmm. Does it have value if it's free? And then they have some feelings like maybe it's not going to work, but what the hell? It's free. I'm not going to lose out. Now, as we went through this process, and this is actually a very true thing, and then what makes the site different? In our onboarding on Marketer Knows, there is an onboarding video tutorial that addresses all of these pain points and talks to people about how they can reach out, get a hold of us. We've got a Q&A section. We've got a forum. We've got a Facebook group. We've got all those kinds of things. And you can see as we work through this, this is going to guide our content because we're going to address this, right? Yep. Every single part.
Absolutely. And another great way to kind of get supplemental information for this to help grow this is to talk to your customers that you already have, right? Do any of these really relate to them? Have they experienced any of these? And oftentimes, if you create that interaction with them, you can actually get to the next step and, what you can offer them to help solve that for sure. So moving on, we also have this kind of 5 reasons to kind of use this map before we dive into. We have a really good graphic to show you guys before we end off that I think we'll spend the majority of time that we have left on, but
yeah. So who wants to roll through these?
Matej, you want to go through these?
Sure. So if you see here at the 5 great reasons to use an experience map, it helps you see the big picture of your customer's journey. Again, to further understand their needs and pain points, especially. It also makes collaboration between designers and the developers, the managers, it's much more easier, effective, and focused. And it facilitates a desired outcome as well. Again, it pinpoints minimizing negative consumer experiences, and it identifies the reasons for churn as well. It addresses them, creates opportunity to bring users on board again, and it also allows businesses to prioritize actions in their experience and the strategy, and also the product timeline, which is very important.
Sure. And if you were to put your designer hat on, if you were provided with all of this type of content, I would imagine that you're able to really zero in more like a sniper than just spraying bullets, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where some of these KPI like targeting come, right, Matej?
Yeah, and then again, you can get into the bare bones of it in terms of design, but like design, the messaging, when you know what the customer's looking for, pain points, it's just flawless. You'll have the creative, it will emulate the exact customer journey you're looking for, and therefore you'll have a great outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. We'll dive into net promoter scores and customer lifetime and everything else, but we should really jump into the customer journey now.
Yeah, so let's go into this.
So now the customer experience is done, and this is where it all comes together into a high-level example of understanding how you create a customer journey map that is now mapped to your ideal customer profile with their persona, with the offerings that you've got, with the empathy map of your customer, understanding the questions that they're asking, and how you can implement it. It basically starts at the top of each of these columns, and each one has a swim lane, it's called. So at pre-contact and unaware, we're going to scroll down a little bit.
Yep.
And this is our persona profile, Paul. We want to find out what's going on with him, and we already know. So keep going down so we can get to the bottom there. So Paul's frustrated, right? Found lots of information, but none of it is addressing his questions directly. And he doesn't know if it's accurate or not, and there's conflicting information out there. So he's in a negative emotional state, right? Mm-hmm. This is absolutely true. We see this with so many of our new clients that come on board, is that they're at a level of frustration because they've either, taken the wrong direction or had too many freelancers, or, go down the line. So let's go back up. So now Paul we're in an awareness cycle now. Paul is Googling, talking to people, going into Facebook groups, chatting with other people, reading comment threads, trying to find things, right? And so what would we do, understanding that Paul is in this state? Well, we would do a whole bunch of things. One, we would probably run Google responsive display ads, tapping into the frustration that Paul might be feeling. Mm-hmm. We could use Instagram videos to show snippets of very short, snackable, and consumable messages that tap into the frustration of the complexity of digital marketing, right? Mm-hmm. That'll catch his attention. The other thing is we create blog post content that is verified, that doesn't try to necessarily solve every problem, that is written understanding that your reader could be frustrated, right? Mm-hmm. Now we can see how our content marketing strategy is defined based on all of this research we've done before, right? And that's so critical. So now we're getting Paul into a not happy state, but not maybe a little less frustrated. We're doing things for Paul up here at the awareness side that are helpful to him. Mm-hmm. Right? That's the old Gary Vaynerchuk jab, 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 right hook, which is give, give, give before you ask. Like, build that up. Okay, so let's scroll down a little bit more. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can jump over because of his frustration is still there. Okay, let's go up. There we go. So now he's in a consideration phase. He knows who Marketer Knows is. He's heard of us. Okay, great. Awesome. Mm-hmm. Right? But he's still browsing. This is where it's nonlinear, right? So he's browsing. He's maybe bought a couple of courses that are perpetually on sale, comparing different forums, different sites. And look, there's hundreds of marketing communities for all sorts of different types of people. There's Smart Insights and Demand Metric and Digital Marketer, and Ezra Firestone has a community called Smarketer for e-commerce. There's tons of them. Mm-hmm. So you're in a crowded marketplace with lots of content being offered, right? So he's in a comparison stage. He's just trying to figure out what to do. A couple of things that we would do is, because Paul has interacted with us, we'll have him in a remarketing audience. We would form up a landing page with a special offer, maybe invite him to our Facebook group. He's also going to look at some reviews, so we want to make sure we have strong reviews out there for social validation. If we scroll down a bit, we'll get there. 504. So coming out of it, Paul's finding that, look, if there's a 12-hour course, I don't have time for that. Am I going to, every night for a week, am I going to stay up 2 hours later and do this? Probably not. Mm-hmm. And what we would do is build a more specific landing page with a specific offer, highlighting the fact and being conversational with Paul that Marketer Knows is a place for him to join for free, no commitment, ask a bunch of questions, and we're going to be there to help him as much as we possibly can. Okay. Yep. We got to get going. Join. So now he's at the join phase. So we want him to probably join several different sites. Yep. Give him a free playbook that's the choice of his free playbook. Maybe he wanted to do a webinar. Maybe he's trying to launch a campaign. Maybe he's trying to create a marketing forecast or marketing plan, right? Give him several options there with that fluidity. So from our side, what we would do is provide an onboarding tutorial to lead Paul through directly into the free resources we have that he can choose from. We have a Q&A section. We've got a forum. We've got open office hour webinars, and we have video guides, so he can take his pick. So Paul's finding this useful, but he still has questions, but we're starting to address that, right? Immediately upon joining. And then you can see that that's going to take Paul into a happier state. This is the before and after that we talked about last time. So let's go up. Yeah.
The next part is going to be onboarding, right? So it's going to be giving Paul all these assets that you were telling him in the action, the consideration, and the join section without overwhelming them, because I think a lot of people can overwhelm their leads at this point once they finally get in. But, making contact with him, making sure that he's, seen as a member of your community, participate in Q&As, get any of the questions that he needs answered, and then providing him with, different resources that he can access throughout his onboarding process, right? So this is like Dan was saying, the forums, the Q&A, the office hours, invitations to, exclusive maybe webinars, video casting, all this good stuff.
Well, and again, at this point, still in this customer journey, there's no ask of a purchase yet, right? Because we want to build that community. So you want to build that rapport. And the most important part of any of these types of communities, whether they're courses or communities, are engagement and retention. And you do that by creating a vibrant community, right?
Yeah.
So after going through a 5-minute onboarding video, Paul's able to connect with the community. And in that community, we may have technical marketers and people that can help him with maybe it's tracking and tagging, or his forums, or he doesn't quite understand MailChimp or ActiveCampaign, for example. We're giving Paul lots of ways to connect, get his questions answered, and keeping the content snackable so that he can consume it in a way that would be for an entrepreneur, which is like, I got a question, please, I need an answer, right?
Yep, for sure.
Okay. And then the last is advocacy, and this is really customer retention, is keeping people engaged via consistent content and consistent multiple touch points that speak directly to the nature of your community. Simple as coming out and asking people how, what's your biggest frustration, for example, in a Facebook group or on the forum side of things. And what we want to do is we want to have that customer base basically like raving about it, happy to review it, happy to refer it, because that's going to be a huge way to grow your business.
Absolutely.
Whew. So now Paul's at this point, we've made an offer for Paul to join the Founders Club, which gives unlimited access and additional engagement features. But we're hoping that Paul feels confident at that point that he sees huge value. So we're not trying to pull somebody in. We're actually trying to motivate them to want to buy it as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Got it all in.
We got it all in. It's 5:08. Close. Not bad.
Yep, for sure.
Through a couple of things, but hopefully that provided you all, and we've got some great engagement with our concurrent viewers, so we're happy about that. So thanks everybody. I guess did we have like a wrap on this sucker?
I think we had just a few more touching upon the KPIs and things. Nothing too crazy.
We can make this available for download after the fact. It is a lot.
A lot of information.
Yeah. Thank you, Hammerstrand. Great webinar.
Hey,
glad you enjoyed it. Thank you thanks for to our Periscope community.
Yeah, thanks.
Burgeoning Periscope community.
It's fantastic. YouTube and Periscope has really been coming to the lives recently, so it's fantastic to see.
Yeah. April just had one last point here. When people are exploring your brand, they're already interested in the topic or the product. This is where you have a chance to engage your customer, answer questions through a strong content strategy. Yes, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. Well, a little bit over, but I think it was well worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
Emotionally exhausted now. But
a nice 48-minute live at the Hive, as always. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, everybody, as you head into the final strokes before Christmas, stay calm. You'll get your shopping done. Don't worry. It'll all be good. But everybody, enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Stay healthy. We will see you next week, next Friday. Same bat time, same bat channel for episode 161 of Live at the Hive, digital marketing from the trenches.
See you guys then.
It's a mouthful, wasn't it?